You guys ready for this one? 2003 was the year of the Great Return. Let me explain. If you've been watching the videos Jacob and I have been making, you'll already be familiar with the concept, as it's something Jacob and I enjoy discussing. What killed the trendy teen slasher? You know, my bread and butter, the things I love, Scream, I Know You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, Urban Legend. What happened? Well, it was several things. What caused the house that Kevin Williamson built to fall? Primarily, it was Columbine. Kevin Williamson's teen soap slashers seemed to predict and pre-identify school shooter media-obsessed behavior. Many of his brilliant postmodern scripts involved white boys shooting their classmates while quoting horror movies. Those were usually the climaxes of them. Nothing was remotely his fault. Kids responded to his work in such an intense fashion because Kevin was exposing a morbid truth, and no one thought to question why exactly are these hyper-specifically self-referential films so successful? Why are these cynical works of art so great? Until it was too late. Columbine happened, shocked the country, and Williamson's cynical, psychopathic outcasts were largely viewed as problematic, as if horror shouldn't always be so, but still. So, that's irony. Post-irony would come in the form of Final Destination, a film about survivors' guilt and self-destructive manic episodes, something a lot of teens were experiencing and trying to process in the wake of the new Columbine normal. Problem is, the film centered itself around a plane crash, and the 9/11 terror attacks were right around the corner. It seemed the fates had conspired against the slasher genre. From irony to post-irony to a so-called new sincerity. 2003 saw the release of 3 incredibly significant films. A surprisingly relentless remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre starring Jessica Biel, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, and a rushed little slasher called Wrong Turn. What's noticeably absent from each of these titles is even a remnant of a postmodern flourish, even the whiff of postmodernism. Horror was attempting to gain access to a new sincerity. I don't even really like this era of horror. I definitely prefer the Kevin Williamson era, and yet he deconstructed and weaponized everything he could, and horror was left with no other real option, from their point of view, but to try to rebuild its genre. Horror could have ended, and maybe I'd argue that it should have. Instead, they returned to the well of exploitation and standard hillbilly freaks. This trio of sincerely made horror films attempted to follow classicist codes, and audiences needed something purely escapist as opposed to Williamson's work, which was oddly predictive, that were so morbidly accurate to the behaviors of teenage psychopaths. They wanted something purely escapist, like Toothless, Fingerless, Inbreds from Hell, or North Carolina. I think that's the same thing, right? I view Wrong Turn as the true road, the actual bridge between teen soap slashers to a new return. A return which would later peak with torture porn operatics. Retroactively, hindsight being 2020, Wrong Turn as a film is a turning point. It's a turning point film, marking a fork in the road, and maybe, just maybe, horror made the wrong turn. Williamson and his clones, his acolytes, made so much progress, and now we're back to the basics of exploitation filmmaking. The genre made a wrong turn indeed. But part of what makes this film, Wrong Turn, a bridge is the personal responsibility final girl Jessie takes upon herself, the shades of survivor's guilt, the melodrama of the moment, and the strength to move forward. Wrong Turn explores a young woman on a pity party feeling responsible for the gruesome random murders of the friends who rallied to cheer her up and warm her heart. Sincerity is punished in Wrong Turn. And that's what makes Wrong Turn pretty interesting. Full disclosure, I think Eliza is one of the hottest women on the planet. Holy fuck, I am not kidding about Eliza Dushku. While her hotness by itself doesn't make Wrong Turn a great film, it really helps that I want her to sit on my face so much. For the entire runtime, actually. I'm horny as fuck for this movie. Jessie is a really interesting final girl. Eliza Dushku is a really interesting actor to have as your final girl because there's something just so strong about her personality. In fact, like the show Dollhouse had to jump through several different hoops to make her appear vulnerable, something that Joss Whedon on that show did extremely well. But it was difficult, because when we see her, she's not just Faith from Buffy. She kind of embodies all of those strong, rebellious, roguish qualities that goes into a very, very strong young woman. So, watching Wrong Turn, just aesthetically, just on a behavior level, she has a lot more in common with Lara Croft than Laurie Strode. Okay? Like, I'm really not worried about her too much in this film because there's just something about her that I know she'll be okay. I know that she'll be okay because she could kick my ass if she wanted to. She has that kind of that kind of appeal, that kind of aesthetic to her, and I love her for that. But sincerity is punished in Wrong Turn. She's punished for feeling sorry for herself. Her friends gather around her, try to make her feel better, and her friends are punished for trying to cheer her up, which in turn makes her more depressed, but in the end she finds that thing inside of her. And it is a Kevin Williamson-esque moment, because Sydney finds the strength inside of her, and Casey in The Faculty finds the strength inside him, same with Julie in I Know What You Did Last Summer. These kids are empowered. Whereas by the end of the film, it's not necessarily a film about failure, but rather a horror film about success, and Wrong Turn is kind of the same way. Wrong Turn is about the empowerment of Jessie, of this young woman. I don't even want to talk about Desmond Harrington's character. That's kind of the most pointless character. He didn't even have to be there. Like, Wrong Turn isn't a great movie. I think it's a really good movie. I think it was a really rushed movie. I think it's a decently made studio product. I just think it's fascinating to view it as a road between the popular trends of horror. And this one is the most clear road. You can most clearly get from Cherry Falls, Final Destination, and The Faculty, take the wrong turn, go through Wrong Turn, and you can end up at places like The Devil's Rejects, like The Hills Have Eyes remake, and like some of James Wan's materials. You can get there from here. You can get there from Wrong Turn. Because Wrong Turn offers both options. Because there are some very interesting elements. I like the fact that sincerity is punished, considering the fact that horror was trying to enter into a new sincerity, and this is punishing sincerity. There are some really cool deaths, too. Ever since I was a kid, I watched this a lot when it came out. And by kid, I guess I mean 13. I was 13 when this movie came out, and I was really into it. I thought it was really cool. Her friend's death, Carly's death, is remarkable. When that axe goes through the top part of her head while she's standing on that huge giant tree, and the axe goes through the top part of her head, like right in between her lips, and you can see like that part of her skull's like stuck to the tree, and her body just tumbles down, hitting all these branches. What another fucking super sexy chick. But that is such a good murder. And Jeremy Sisto is an actor I love ever since 6 Feet Under. I love that actor. That's a great archetype. He fills the archetype really well, and I actually like his death a lot. He's almost too good of an actor for this film because there's so much pathos in in his body language when he's dying. Like it elevates that part of the film, and I'm like, oh man, this film doesn't really deserve the acting that you're giving it. Eliza Dushku, though, of course, steals the show. And I do feel that she was also limited in her performance as well, because I don't feel this director or the filmmakers really knew how to best best handle not only her unreal beauty, but her unreal power, the strength that she just has as a performer. Uh, there were so many moments that could have been transcendentally good um, that just came up slightly short. Wrong Turn does come up a bit short. I don't like the sequels. I know a lot of people like the sequels. The sequels go all in on camp and cheese and absurdity. I don't care for them. I'm not a Henry Rollins fan. I don't give a fuck. Um, I, he didn't. He wasn't my favorite singer of Black Flag, so I have no allegiances to Henry Rollins. I don't like the rest of the Wrong Turn movies. I think this one is the best one because here you could clearly see two different styles of slasher films combining, and eventually the more classicist school of filmmaking, the more standard thought, the hillbilly thought, like that takes over. That destroys the teen soap. Here you can see the teen soap being destroyed. Because there is that scene in the cave where Jessie is kind of explaining that she feels responsible for all of her friends dying. And it is a very touching scene, and that is melodrama. That is teen melodrama. That's Dawson's Creek. That's Williamson. And it's clearly being abandoned. Because in my opinion, horror did take a wrong turn.